standard height requirement for an electrical outlet in a garage is 12 inches, measured from the top of the receptacle box to the finished floor. This requirement is primarily driven by safety considerations. Firstly, it aims to prevent accidental contact with water that may accumulate on the garage floor, particularly in regions prone to flooding or snow. Elevating the outlet reduces the risk of electrical shock should water enter the garage. Secondly, the 12-inch height helps to minimize the potential for physical damage to the outlet. Garages often serve as workshops or storage areas where tools, equipment, and other items are moved around frequently. By positioning the outlet higher, it is less likely to be bumped, kicked, or struck by objects, thus protecting the outlet itself and preventing potential electrical hazards. Thirdly, adhering to the 12-inch minimum height is generally mandated by electrical codes, such as the National Electrical Code, or NEC, and local building regulations. Compliance with these codes ensures that electrical installations meet minimum safety standards and are subject to inspection. It is important to note that specific requirements may vary depending on the local jurisdiction, so it is always advisable to consult with a qualified electrician or refer to the applicable electrical code in the area to confirm the exact requirements. Furthermore, in certain cases, additional requirements may apply, such as the use of ground fault circuit interrupter, or GFCI, protection for garage outlets. GFCI outlets are designed to detect ground faults, which can occur when electrical current flows through an unintended path, such as through a person. When a ground fault is detected, the GFCI outlet quickly cuts off the power supply, preventing electrical shock. GFCI protection is particularly important in damp or wet locations like garages. To properly install an electrical outlet at the correct height, firstly, ensure that the power to the circuit is turned off at the breaker box. This is a crucial safety precaution to prevent electrical shock. Secondly, determine the desired location for the outlet and mark the 12-inch height measurement on the wall. Use a level to ensure that the mark is straight and horizontal. Thirdly, install an electrical box at the marked height. The electrical box provides a secure housing for the outlet and protects the wiring. Fourthly, run the electrical wiring to the electrical box. The wiring should be sized appropriately for the circuit and should be installed in accordance with the electrical code. Fifthly, connect the wiring to the outlet receptacle. Ensure that the wires are properly connected to the correct terminals. Sixthly, mount the outlet receptacle into the electrical box and secure it with screws. Seventhly, install a cover plate over the outlet receptacle. The cover plate protects the outlet and provides a finished look. Eighthly, turn the power back on at the breaker box and test the outlet to ensure that it is working properly. Use a voltage tester to verify that the outlet is receiving power. The 12-inch height requirement for electrical outlets in garages is a simple but important safety measure. By adhering to this requirement, one can reduce the risk of electrical shock and prevent damage to the electrical system. Always consult with a qualified electrician or refer to the applicable electrical code to ensure that all electrical installations are safe and compliant. In summary, the 12-inch height requirement for garage outlets serves multiple purposes. It minimizes the risk of contact with water, protects the outlet from physical damage, and ensures compliance with electrical codes. When installing or modifying electrical outlets in a garage, it is crucial to prioritize safety and follow all applicable regulations. Remember to always energize the circuit before working on any electrical components and to consult with a qualified electrician if needed. Ensuring proper outlet height is a key aspect of maintaining a safe and functional garage environment. The minimum height of 12 inches applies to most residential garages. However, it's essential to be aware of local amendments or specific interpretations by local electrical inspectors. For instance, some jurisdictions might require a greater height if the garage is prone to flooding or is frequently washed down. Also, consider the placement of garage equipment, such as workbenches or storage shelves. The outlet should be positioned so that it remains accessible and is not obstructed by these items. If the garage is used for commercial purposes or if it contains specialized equipment, different regulations might apply. Commercial garages, for example, might have stricter requirements for outlet placement and GFCI protection. Furthermore, if the garage is part of a multi-family dwelling, such as an apartment building or condominium, there may be additional requirements to ensure safety and prevent unauthorized access to electrical outlets. Another crucial aspect is the type of wiring used for garage outlets. Typically, non-metallic sheath cable, also known as NM cable or Romex, is used for residential wiring. However, in garages, it is recommended to use a more robust wiring method, such as conduit, to protect the wiring from physical damage. Conduit is a metal or plastic tubing that encases the wiring and provides a protective barrier against impacts, moisture, and other hazards. There are several types of conduit available, including rigid metal conduit, or RMC, intermediate metal conduit, or IMC, electrical metallic tubing, or IMT, and flexible metal conduit, or FMC. The choice of conduit depends on the specific application and the level of protection required. In addition to the 12-inch height requirement, it is also important to consider the spacing of electrical outlets in the garage. The NEC specifies that outlets should be installed so that no point along the wall line is more than 6 feet from an outlet. This ensures that extension cords are not used excessively, which can create a tripping hazard and increase the risk of electrical fires. When planning the placement of outlets, consider the intended uses of the garage. For example, if the garage is used for woodworking, it may be necessary to install additional outlets to accommodate power tools. If the garage is used for charging electric vehicles, the dedicated 240-volt circuit and outlet will be required. Also, keep in mind that electrical outlets should be readily accessible. Avoid placing outlets behind obstructions such as cabinets or storage shelves. If an outlet is located in a difficult-to-reach area, it may be necessary to install an extension cord, which can create a safety hazard. The 12-inch height requirement is generally measured from the top of the outlet box to the finished floor. The finished floor is the final floor surface, such as concrete, tile, or epoxy. If the garage floor is uneven, the measurement should be taken from the highest point of the floor. In some cases, it may be necessary to install a raised platform or curb to ensure that the outlet is at the proper height. If the garage is located in an area that is prone to flooding, it may be necessary to install the outlets at a higher elevation. The local building code may specify a minimum height above the base flood elevation. This is to prevent the outlets from being submerged in floodwaters, which can create a serious electrical hazard. When installing electrical outlets in a garage, it is important to use the correct type of outlet. Standard 15 amps or 20 amps outlets are typically used for general purpose applications. However, for heavy-duty applications such as power tools or appliances, a 20 amps outlet may be required. The outlet should be rated for the maximum current draw of the equipment that will be plugged into it. It is also important to use tamper-resistant receptacles, or TRRs, in garages. TRR have internal shutters that prevent children from inserting objects into the outlet. This is a safety feature that can help to prevent electrical shock. In addition to the 12-inch height requirement and the use of GFCI protection, there are several other electrical safety measures that should be taken in garages. These include, firstly, keeping electrical cords and equipment away from water and moisture. Secondly, inspecting electrical cords and equipment regularly for damage. Thirdly, avoiding overloading electrical circuits. Fourthly, using surge protectors to protect sensitive electronic equipment. Fifthly, installing smoke detectors and carbon monoxide detectors. Sixthly, having a qualified electrician inspect the electrical system periodically. By following these safety measures, one can help to prevent electrical accidents and injuries in the garage. In summary, the 12-inch height requirement for electrical outlets in garages is an important safety measure that helps to prevent electrical shock and damage to the electrical system. When installing or modifying electrical outlets in a garage, it is crucial to prioritize safety and follow all applicable regulations. Always consult with a qualified electrician or refer to the applicable electrical code to ensure that all electrical installations are safe and compliant. The NEC provides a comprehensive set of standards for electrical installations, including requirements for outlet height spacing, wiring methods, and GFCI protection. These standards are designed to ensure that electrical systems are safe and reliable. Local building codes may also include additional requirements that are specific to the area. It is important to be aware of these requirements and to comply with them. When planning an electrical installation in a garage, it is always best to consult with a qualified electrician. An electrician can assess the specific needs of the garage and recommend the appropriate wiring methods, outlet types, and safety devices. An electrician can also ensure that the installation complies with all applicable codes and regulations. Hiring a qualified electrician is an investment in safety and peace of mind. The 12-inch height requirement for garage outlets is not just a recommendation, it's a code requirement in many jurisdictions. This means that if an electrical inspection is performed, the outlet height will be checked to ensure compliance. Failure to comply with the code can result in a failed inspection and the need to correct the problem. It's important to note that the 12-inch measurement is a minimum height. There is no maximum height specified in most codes as long as the outlet remains accessible and usable. However, excessively high outlets can be inconvenient and may not be practical in all situations. When determining the optimal outlet height, consider the typical uses of the garage and the placement of furniture and equipment. In some cases, it may be necessary to install outlets at different heights to accommodate different needs. For example, an outlet used for a workbench might be installed at a higher height than an outlet used for a general-purpose appliance. The 12-inch height requirement applies to all types of electrical outlets, including standard duplex outlets, GFCI outlets, and 240 volts outlets. However, the specific installation requirements may vary depending on the type of outlet. For example, GFCI outlets must be installed in readily accessible locations and must be protected from physical damage. 240 volts outlets require special wiring and grounding configurations. When installing any type of electrical outlet, it is important to follow the manufacturer's instructions and to consult with a qualified electrician. In addition to the 12-inch height requirement, there are several other factors to consider when installing electrical outlets in a garage. These include, firstly, the location of the outlet. Secondly, the type of outlet. Thirdly, the wiring method. Fourthly, the grounding system. Fifthly, the overcurrent protection. Sixthly, the GFCI protection. Seventhly, the accessibility of the outlet. Eighthly, the labeling of the outlet. By carefully considering these factors, one can ensure that the electrical outlets in the garage are safe, reliable, and compliant with all applicable codes and regulations. The 12-inch height requirement for garage outlets is a relatively simple concept, but it is an important one. By adhering to this requirement, one can help to prevent electrical shock, reduce the risk of fire, and ensure the safety of the garage and its occupants. Always consult with a qualified electrician or refer to the applicable electrical code to ensure that all electrical installations are safe and compliant.